Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How'd your sit go? Okay. Good. Sometimes it's hard to sit. So her effort is always appreciated, I would say. So I have a dog, black Labradoodle, black, and it has a lot of poodle in her too. Smart dog for dogs. Sometimes when I'm walking her in the neighborhood to let her do her thing, she will sniff and sniff and sniff. She's a sniffer. Some dogs like chasing butterflies. My dog sniffs everything, getting her information and her stimuli. So, but one of the most important things about walking a dog is you have to let her do her thing as far as going to the bathroom, right? So we walk the dog, and I make sure I bring her to this area of the neighborhood that's wooded, because one of the things that I don't like is picking up after her on someone's lawn. I really don't like having to do that. I just find it uncomfortable, and I feel like I'm always trespassing, and my dog is doing her thing on their lawn, trespassing. But regardless, I try to bring her into the woods, and so she can do her thing. And the amazing thing about the dog is that after she's done, she's elated. She will be bounding out of the woods, and she will come up to me, wagging her tail, and she'll grab the leash, and she'll pull it, and she'll want to play. And so we do that. We have our fun, and she continues to run around, and she's just so proud of herself. And it's just great. It's a part of the joy that we have in life, is when we do things with intention and the good intention, and we can feel very good about ourselves about these things, right? Especially when we do a good job. Some of the times when she comes out of the woods and she's bounding and she comes up to me and she's all excited, she's covered in burrs. And she's still elated and very caught in the moment of the joy. But the clinging of the burrs are there, and they are a pain to get out of her fur. Okay? They can be, especially when we're getting into the fall, we're letting her fur grow out more, and they can be very embedded in her fur and stick there. Right? Now, this happens to us in life. We have all the good intentions of doing things for ourselves or for another, and we might be bounding, and we come out and we have caused a situation. There's burrs that have clung to us, even though our intention was very different from what we had started from. We come out and we have burrs as a result. And sometimes they're embedded in our fur, pretty deep, right? Now, in this situation with Daisy, my dog Daisy, some people might reprimand her for having burrs in her fur, even though she had no idea that that was even a thing. I mean, she had no idea that that's what it was of her karma, her actions. Her actions were, she went into the woods, she came out, and she had burrs. Our actions were, we had this intention, and we did this thing, and we came out with burrs. Not only did we feel good about ourselves, but because of the intent, because of our actions, we have burrs. Now, I could reprimand her, I could yell at her, and that wouldn't cause the Burrs to change the situation. I wouldn't be demanding them to fall out of her fur. It wouldn't work, right? And it's the same in our lives. So think about when we come out of a situation and we have had the full intention of something else, and someone reprimands us, and then we go into being hard on ourselves about what we've done because of the Burrs. Right? I would suspect that many of us would be second guessing. Many of us might be feeling shameful, guilty, right? Even though the intent was not there at all. The intent was benign. Right? We didn't want to cause any distress to anybody. We were just doing whatever we thought was, a good and right thing to do. But sometimes it just doesn't work that way. Or what we envision or how we think it will come out, it doesn't work. Now, if the Buddha was moral, had moral doctrine, there would have been a lot of finger pointing or something like that. But that's not what karma and learning from it is. It is strictly learning from our actions. In other words, you're not a bad person. You fundamentally don't change your Buddhahood because you made a mistake or you collected some sort of reprimand or something. Fundamentally, your Buddhahood is always there. It's not going to change. That's not going to change. Action, karma, is an education. It's an opportunity to learn about what we did, how to rethink things, how to reflect. But it's not a situation in which we need to reprimand or demean or go to places that are harmful to ourselves in our thinking. That's not healthy, and it's not productive. In American culture, I think that's a big part of what happens with us, is that the I then gets involved of I am this, I am a bad person, I'm cruddy, I suck, blah, 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 on and on. And that has nothing to do with anything regarding your intent and the result and what you do about it. Right? The most important thing is to learn from it. It's not a situation in which you can pile on. So we think and we have our story created by our thinking in our mind, and it results from conditioning. So whenever I take Daisy out to go to the bathroom and she bounds in the woods and comes out happy and reinforced, a good job, that's a result of conditioning. She's used to that. That's what she's expecting over and over and over. And we're no different in situations in our lives. Right? We're conditioned to respond, to react in ways that, one, we can defend ourselves, right? Or we feel that we need to. We are conditioned to respond in ways that are joyful, what is expected. right? An important thing about learning and educating ourselves is noticing our patterns in our conditioning. What patterns do I notice about myself? Now, this is not good nor bad, okay? And this is really important. This is all about learning, right? You're fundamentally clear. You're fundamentally Buddhas. Absolutely. So learning is an important part of clearing up, wiping away all that dust. So is there a pattern? Are there patterns that I'm engaged in? Are there ways that I go about my day in a routine, that if that routine is kind of disrupted, then I'm all like, oh no, my day's shot now, right? This is all part of that conditioning. And none of that is in stone. None of that is hardwired. It's just conditioning. It's conditioning. It's repetitive. Daisy was not wrong coming out with Burrs. Matter of fact, she was quite right. That's exactly what happened. It happened that way because that's what happened. Burrs were there. It happened that way. Sometimes people are there and we didn't realize it. Or a situation that occurred that we had no control over. She just simply wasn't aware of her surroundings or what was going on for her. Or she wasn't aware that, oh, these burrs, that they'll stick to my fur. She's not a bad dog. So some of the things we do to guard against and as a result, because of our conditioning, is we lash out when we feel threatened, we withdraw when we're afraid, and we cling to when we feel alone. And I've done pretty much all those, for sure. But these aren't evil. These are not evil. These actions aren't evil. They're a result of conditioning. They're a result of thousands of years of conditioning. They're unconscious. They're not in our awareness. In our practice, when we meditate, one of the things we do is we become more aware of sounds, smells, sights, feelings, our thoughts. We become more aware of our thoughts. And that's really, really great. Because eventually, and as we practice, we can step back and look at our patterns in unconscious, the way they manifest in our lives. We take the time to look at those. Take in the information of the consequence of the karma, or the action. Take the information in, not to berate ourselves, but to learn from it. So what happens when we become aware of our tendencies? Well, we become more mindful of our surroundings. We become more mindful of others. We become more skillful in our actions. And we begin to loosen the burrs. within our fur without causing any harm or anything like that, without blaming ourselves about it. One of the things that I have a habit of doing in the morning, and I'm working on this, is that there's an entrance into my neighborhood that goes right off of Square Lake Road, and it comes right off the freeway. I mean, it is rush hour. And in the mornings, I'm hoping that it's not jammed, right? Sometimes it's really backed up, and I will quickly look, and if I can take it, I'll go. Like I'll go, and I just put my nose in there, or I'll take off, and I need to become much more mindful of that, because that's dangerous, right? And it's not good conditioning, right? So what am I doing? I'm purposely going there and slowing down. I'm learning from my impatience. Right? Yeah. So the beauty of Daisy is that she comes out joyful regardless of burrs. She doesn't sulk in the guilt of, I have burrs in my fur, and now I need you to clean them out or get them out. And she doesn't say, oh no, I failed. I failed in my duties. I failed in my duties. She comes out open-hearted and always willing to play, joyful. She's not hard on herself. And she's a great teacher in that way. So I encourage us to be mindful and to be have a different story or a different mantra or different words come to our minds when we do something that with really good intentions, and they don't always work out. And am I hard on myself because of it? You don't have to go there. Just learn. Just learn. It's not personal. It's just learning. So if you could put your hands in Hapchang, I'll read this from the Dhammapada. Oh, by the way, this small Dhammapada is one of the first, and this is teachers, and I had to borrow it today, but this one I got from copying myself at the old Borders. Remember Borders? Years ago, and it's so little and cool. But anyway, this one's chapter 2 in the Dhammapada, wakefulness. Wakefulness is the way of life. The fool sleeps, as if he were already dead, but the master is awake and lives forever. He watches, he is clear, how happy he is, for she sees the wakefulness in life, how happy she is. Follow the path of the awakened. And that's the reading. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.